Yo, what's up, boys? It's your man back for another Marvel Select figure review. Now, today we have, after a while of wanting this man, we finally have him. The Marvel Select Sandman. We got him chilling in the booth right now. He's ready. He's been all loosened up. He was in the boiling water for a little bit. He didn't turn into mud, so we're good. So, this is the Marvel Select Sandman. I don't have a box that I can show you, but I'll explain a little bit. This man came out, I'd say, maybe a year or two ago. That sounds about right. Marvel Select, you know, their usual packaging is the big fat box with the window and then the paper on the back. Yeah, so moving right past the box and just talking about the figure here. This is a figure I've wanted for quite a long time, but when it first came out, I heard a lot of negative things about it. Like, a lot of people were saying, oh, it sucks, the hands barely stay on, the wrists suck, I hate this figure, sucks. And I was like, oh, maybe I won't get it. And now, after a long time, I found one, and I purchased it, and I gotta say, I don't know what people were saying, because besides from a couple of little things that seem to be QC issues, I don't think there's really anything wrong with this figure at all. Actually, ooh, knock the light over. I'm gonna tilt this up a little bit so you can see the man a little better. Fix the light, and bow. All right, now we're back in business. So, this is quite a good figure, and I can see where people would be getting upset and why these things would upset you, because I can definitely see it. But I don't think those things ruin the figure. I think he has some QC problems, but you can work around them, I guess. So, starting with the paint and sculpt on this guy, I'll just bend up the knees so you can bring him in. The head sculpt looks pretty good. I think the paint on a majority of it is good, but there are a good handful of spots where it's really sloppy. Like, you can see the lines on the shirt aren't the cleanest. And then, like, some parts on this hand, some of the, like, shading just kind of seems flung on. It doesn't seem like they were really going for any sort of specific type of shading. It just kind of looked like shading. And as you can already see here, you can see how people were saying there's gaps between the forearms. And I think this arm was because of me. I was trying to customize a little bit to make some of the accessories fit on easier. And now I just made it super duper loose. But I can see why you'd be upset. And the only problem, other than a little bit of gappage I see, is sometimes pulling these off, it's absolutely impossible. Like, Marvel Select, they do a good job making figures and giving them the accessories, but sometimes just trying to swap them out makes it the hardest part. And I could see why this would push people away. But for those who do not have this figure and were considering it, I would say don't let these flaws and what the other people say push you away from the figure, because it's really all specific to the person. Because, like me, I don't really care that much about QC issues. I can really work around them. I can fix it and stuff. And then the figure is perfect. But if you don't really feel like putting love and work into the figure, I wouldn't recommend it. Other than that, though, this is definitely recommended. So, we'll go into some more of the sculpt here. I think the sculpt on this guy is really, really good. And this is just the basic stuff. Just wait until we get into some of his accessories. The sculpting is unbelievable. And right now, you may be thinking, yo, this ain't the Sandman. There's no sand accessories. Hold on one second, actually. There's no sand accessories, but after the articulation, we'll see them. I forgot I have articulation before accessories. I have so many good ideas for transitions, but they just don't fit with the order I do it in. So at the head here, sadly, it is literally just a ball peg. There is no double ball joint or anything, so the head articulation is awful. You can get barely a little bit of up and down. The head, some slight pivot. You do get all the way around, which I guess is necessary. You get it, and that's really it. The head articulation, very, very poor, very poopy. At the arms here, the shoulders go up. Let me put the arm straight pretty nicely, a little bit above 90. They're nice and smooth too, nice and tight. And you gotta be a little rough with this figure, or a majority of Marvel Select, because the way the figures are made, the plastic, it's just like I guess the paint, it kind of hardens it up. I don't know how to explain it, but it kind of tightens up the joints. And you got to crack the paint to get it to move smoother. So it goes all the way around. there is a bicep swivel at the top here. You can see they didn't cut through the bicep, which is great. Shout out to the Taskmaster. He's got a single jointed elbow here, which you should be careful bending, because if you push it too far up, you might be able to just crack the forearm straight off. I don't know, but I'd say the closer to the actual piece you can get bending it, the better. So there is actually a swivel here at the part where the forearm connects, and then there's a swivel at the hand, and then an up and down hinge. So the articulation on the arms and everything is pretty good, but right here at the midsection is where I think it gets really bad, because you have the nice diaphragm joint here, but all it does is swivel side to side. Like, there is no forward and back. If I lift his arm up, you can see from the side, if I hold him in place, because that piece will just come apart, there is nothing there. And I really am kind of upset about this, because he's already, like, he's naturally in a hunched over position, which fits with the character. I definitely think it fits for the Sandman. He's usually big and hunched over. But I feel like with the amount of accessories you get, being able to crunch him back like he was swinging a weapon or something would have been amazing, because without that, now he just kind of stands hunched over, which it's not the worst. Like, you just have to kind of work around it if you're posing, because that and the head sculpt really ruin it, because there's only one head sculpt. You get no interchangeable heads. But I'll get into that at the accessories. We'll continue on here. So at the very weird sized waist, which you can tell he has a much wider legs than torso, it doesn't really fit the smoothest, but there is a rotation here, and that's it. Moving down to the legs, at the classic T-joint legs, these are very rarely used outside of Marvel Select, and I think McFarlane Toys might use them sometimes. I know they used to, but I don't know if they still do. So his legs kick forward that far. There is not even an ounce of back, because this man has such a booty, I gotta admit it. The out to the side is a little pretty bad because of the T-joint, and be careful pushing it, because these legs will break easy. This scheme doesn't really work the best, so be very careful articulating him, because it could break or knock your light over. Sorry about the light situation here. I still have to figure something out that's permanent, because I'm experimenting a little bit, and right now I just have it on a chair and it just is not working. So at the thigh, moving down, he has an all the way around thigh swivel. This leg is just extremely crunchy and tight. At the knee, nice double jointed knee that works very good. Probably the finest piece of articulation on this figure. And moving down to the foot here, he does have a swivel at the top of the sock, I guess, which I really like. I prefer a swivel over like just a ball joint, because I guess a ball joint would be all the above, but one of those pull down joints I don't really like. Then he's got a little bit of pivot, and then some up and some down, but the cuff of the pants really inhibits it, and it doesn't make it that good. But other than that, there is really good articulation on the legs, and I'm happy they gave him an ankle pivot, because even in some, not a lot, but some of their recent figures, they have been pooping on the articulation with the single jointed elbows like this man has. Well, actually, they really never do double jointed, but a few times they will, and they don't do them too often. But and then sometimes on the ankles, they still give bad ankles on figures, and the pants will be too long and it'll inhibit it. But this guy has a decent mix of alright articulation that doesn't really get killed by the sculpt. Alright, so moving on to the accessories now. For hands, I guess we could start with, he comes with these two pairs here, or a pair with these more, I guess they would be kind of neutral, I guess more gripping hands, some expression hands, because I would call them fighting pose hands, but this is the Sandman and not Goku, so I'm not sure if it would fit the same. But putting him down and moving to the next, for the, I guess it would be his right side, he has this hand, which is like a neutral, I'd say, hand, just standing, or like a reaching hand, which I don't get really why they gave this for only one side. It doesn't really fit, which, I mean, it fit for only the right side. I feel like they could have given us both hands. And then, again, only for the right side, we have kind of a trigger finger hand for when the Sandman uses a gun. Again, don't really get why they included this. It's kind of like a... Oh, this guy's face is messing up the focus. But it kind of seems a little pointless to only give it to one hand if you're going to put it in the first place. Because it's not like it's a morphing into sand kind of hand. It's just kind of a trigger finger, and they only give it for one side. And then, smartly, what they gave us both of, they gave us a pair of fists, one for each side. And all the sculpting on these hands aren't bad. There's a lot of like a fringe with the plastic where it came out of the sculpting. And it looks really, really bad, but I can't fix it with the X-Acto knife because these hands are painted in skin tone, like they're not sculpted in skin tone. So if you scrape off the fringe or whatever it's called, it'll reveal the plastic underneath. So if you were gonna do that, not this time. But other than the fringe on all the hands, I think they look pretty good, and it's a decent range. Some of them are very random. Some of them don't have anything to do with the Sandman. And half of this stuff you don't even have accessories to use with, like the trigger finger hand. You don't have a gun to go with the Sandman, so I'm guessing it's just if he's grabbing something. So moving on to the next, we're getting into some better accessories here. We have a big sand fist for the right arm. You can see, I like how they did the transition from you have more of a skin tone, and it's kind of rough. It doesn't really, it's not a smooth transition, but it just kind of cuts straight to sand, which I think it's cool. It adds more of an effect like he is human, turning his body into sand instead of just sand. Which, he is just sand, but it's a cool effect. I like it. If the paint was a little cleaner, it would look a lot better. And with this hand, like I was saying, you can really see the high sculpting detail that I really like. They got a really good look for sand. And I was thinking I may make or try to make a Hydro Man custom out of this, because it pretty much fits perfectly for a Hydro Man as well. And I think the sculpting looks really good. But then it comes to the point where it's stupid. For some reason, they give us another right hand. Or no, actually, these are both left hands. I was saying the wrong side. I'm thinking of actual life, not the figure. This is his left hand, actually. He has two of these big sandy left hands. This one is kind of like a claw with the sand dripping down a little bit. Which I like the kind of, I guess, the sculpting of it dripping. But the way it fits on the arm, if you want it to kind of, the shape of it to line up with the forearm, you kind of have to have it sideways like this, so that it doesn't look like it's dripping down. It looks like it's kind of shifting sideways somehow, which I guess it could be a cool effect because it would work for the Sandman, but it just kind of defeats the purpose of the sculpt drooping down in the first place. Again, there is good paint on this though, nice sculpt, and I think the paint is probably the best on some of the more upcoming stuff. I think the sand paint on this one's a little cruddy compared to the rest, even though it is still very nice. The problem again though, only giving it to one side of the body, which is very weird. And again, coming in with these accessories, the next one, we have this sand mallet sharp pointy hammer, which is for the right side. And then this next one, just cutting ahead here, this is also made for the right side. So it's kind of weird that they made like pairs of accessories for only one side. Like you have the two weapons, but only for the right side. And then we have the two hand pieces, but only for the left side. Like I feel like if they would have flip-flopped it like one each, it would have been very nice. Because I feel like both of these things look really good, and I'll go through one at a time. Actually, I just wanted to show that they're both the right hand. But I think they both look amazing, and the sculpting on these are great. Like, I think this or the ball has the best sculpting, because it looks nice, and not only that, it's sharp. Like, it looks like an actual weapon. It doesn't look like a Marvel Legends accessory where they make it dull and stupid looking just so it's a kid's toy. I'm not too sure, but I think Diamond Select is the mid-ground between, I guess you would say, collector's item and a toy, child's toy. And I think this does a really good job at showing that, because it looks really, really good, and it's not dulled down to look childish, I guess. But then again, the sculpt is amazing, and the paint is pretty good. I feel like it's kind of patchy on certain things. Like, it depends, I guess, what you get, because some of the paint could be messed up on your stuff like this. Like mine came pretty decent, but it could be pretty bad. Like how some of the paint on the shirt is really bad. It could be instead of the shirt, you could get this bad, which would suck a lot more. But moving on to the next weapon, we got the mine here, or a mallet, I guess it would more be. And I think this one looks really good. All the parts of it connecting, like the arm part that goes onto the ball, these are kind of, if you heat it up like I did, which you pretty much have to get them on, be very careful when you put it on, because if you're holding it by the ball and pushing this piece on, you could break them apart, and that would be awful, because this is one of the coolest accessories. And just because I want to show it now, it's like a PSA, quick warning. But when you change the hands on this guy, like the forearm pieces, you have to be really, really careful, because they're very thick joints, but they can't hold up the pressure you need to put these on. And there's just so many different spots that could get stressed out that you have to be very careful. Like when you're putting it on, nice and easy, and you have to go straight on with these, because what I found is with this one especially, you can't really spin it on the arm, because if I try to rotate it, it'll twist the actual joint in it, like the peg going into it will get twisted, and if you keep doing that, it'll pull off and break. And that's why that's the only real big problem I have with this guy, is that there's so many accessories and they're hard to change because you don't want to break the figure. Like, pull them clean, straight off, and don't twist, and that's how you break it. That's how you don't break it, I mean. That's how you don't break it. So now I'll just stick his arm on, and this video is quite long. I think I might be rambling a little bit, so we'll get on to the next accessories quick. The next one we have is his little sand legs. Like if he was forming into sand, that's what it would look like. And I think this one has probably the best paint now looking at it. It looks really, really good. And I think this is the best accessory he comes with, because they could have just done it the thing where they could make it only like Sandman with the base only, and then you have to buy another one to get him with the legs. But I like how they give you literally everything. Just drop the light. But I like how they give you literally everything, so that with this one figure, you can make all your different Sandman looks. So, won't even keep talking about it. Paint and sculpt, very good. Now we'll show a little demo. It only goes on one way. It's the, I guess, if you see it going back, you put them on forward like that. And that's the only way you can go on it. The body doesn't swivel or anything. And if you try the other way, it just doesn't go on straight. Like, it doesn't fit at all. So you put it on like this. Oof. And I think it looks really, really good. I think he looks way better like this than with the legs on, because this one, the sand flows into him a lot smoother, and I think it definitely makes the look a lot better. I feel like it more looks like the Sandman than Sandman with random legs. I think this is probably the best look for him. I know I just said that 3 times. I'll say it one more time. This is the best look for the Sandman. And with these accessories, it almost feels like you're getting like 3 different figures. Just the amount of variation you can put in him. Like, you could make him have the sand legs with no accessories, sand legs with the big ball or something. And I think it just makes the value of this figure even more amazing, because he's $30 I bought mine for, and this is like a $70 figure worth of value. It's tremendous. All right, so now moving him out the way and getting the final accessory, the most iconic, the Marvel Select base. This base is kind of pointless. You really don't have much to do with it unless you want the Sandman to be with the legs just standing on sand. But other than that, it's cool as just something else. Like, if you want to have a desert diorama, it kind of fits as like a small dio if you want to put something like that. Which I think that's really the only use for it, because even if you wanted to put him like flowing the sand off of it, it's way too big and it's not shaped the same way, so it doesn't look good at all. Now, I guess we'll give his legs for the comparison. We'll give him his normal height. So that's all the accessories he comes with, which he comes with a whole lot of accessories, and I think all of them are different enough to the point where it feels like if you bought 2 of this figure, you would be able to display 2 separate figures, which I really, really like, because then if you buy 1 figure, you can practically feel like you own 2. So, moving on to comparisons, I was going to say accessories again. I have acquired quite a hefty Marvel Select collection now, so we'll just start going through the line. Here we have the Taskmaster and the one, the only Venom. And I think this, I guess my saying, if it looks good when they're all together, fits probably the best for these figures. Because if you have this figure, like if you put a Marvel Select in the Marvel Legends display, it stands out like crazy. But once you have them all together, they kind of get this nice, high quality, high detail look. And I think if you're looking for that, Marvel Select has definitely upped the, well, I was going to say value, but upped the quality enough to where you could have a whole team of Marvel Selects. It worked both ways for what I meant. Because you could make a team, like a certain team, out of Marvel Selects, or you could buy a buttload of them. So these next two comparisons we have on the right, which I don't think the Sandman beats this Carnage's best Marvel Select figure. I don't think there really could be, because Carnage is a great character and a great figure, so I'll take it. But I think the height scaling is pretty, I don't know, I'd say it's not that good. They just made this Carnage way, way too big. Because I'm used to the Sandman being quite hefty, quite big. He's usually a bigger character. And I think this one, in Marvel Select scale, might be a little too small. But now comparing him to what everybody wants to see, the spiders. Get a couple of arachnids around this man. There's that. And I think next to the Spider-Man, he looks definitely in scale because he's pretty big, pretty wide. I just wish that the diaphragm piece was just fixed. Like it was a little wider and he could stand up straight. Then he would be pretty much perfect. And in height comparisons to other lines, I would say, I'll move the Marvel Select to get a Marvel Legends in here. But I would think this could fit as a Sandman, because in lore, Sandman can alter his size. So if he wanted to, he could really just make himself bigger or smaller, depending on whatever he needs. So you could fudge this guy in really any display if you want a Sandman, and I think he would really fit as a great one, because if you get him up with the whirlwind sand base in the balls, I think it would definitely stick out and look perfect for any sort of Sandman that you could need in your display. So now moving these guys out of the way, and I'll show the figure for the next review. Little showcase, little jump cut, I guess. Well, it wouldn't be a jump cut. I don't do editing. But the next review is going to be on this Hazmat Man right here. You may not recognize him. Ooh, he almost fell. But he is the NECA Marty McFly in hazmat suit. I don't know what it's actually called. Tales from Space Marty McFly. This is going to be the next review because I went to the store and bought both of these guys. So they're coming in for reviews. That is going to be it, though. I kind of want to cut this video a little shorter. Don't want to keep rambling on. It's already quite long. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoy. I 100% recommend this figure if you can find him. I don't think he's any higher up than retail. He shouldn't be. But for retail price, it is unbelievable. The amount of accessories you get and the quality it all is, definitely worth it. So thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one when we go to play Nuketown.